In this video, we are going to talk about the brushes in Adobe Photoshop. So what I have here is a blank canvas with a background. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and generate a brand new layer, and I'm going to call this new layer Brush Demo. To access the brushes, you're going to go to your toolbox and you're going to look for the brush tool. Note that with the brush tool, you also have grouped the pencil tool, the color replacement tool, and the mixer brush tool. The brush tool, you get a lot of different options regarding how you control it. More specifically, along the top of the property panel here, you have both a drop-down menu here that will actually allow you to change size, angle, and width of a brush. But also too, you actually, if you scroll down through the previews, you have a lot of different options as far as different brush types here that come pre-installed with the Adobe Photoshop package. So for instance, if I wanted to go ahead and pick screen tones, I would then come over and select a color from my color picker. I can then, using screen tones, click and drag while holding down your mouse button to add in different color options. Now, to also show you just a regular brush, I'm going to go ahead and jump up here, scroll back up, and we'll go ahead and grab one of the general brushes here, maybe hard round, just so you can see the two side by side. Now, when you are working with brushes, one thing to denote to you is notice how the layer is allowing me to do and use multiple brushes and draw multiple things simultaneously in the layer. The only thing to be wary of with this is if you go to the Move tool and you want to move a specific element, notice what happens. You see how everything on that layer will move simultaneously. So just be aware of that when you're working with your brush tools. Now, you also have some other things that I'd like to draw your attention to. Number one, you do have the different blending modes available to you when working with brushes, and you also have opacity. However, you also have what is called flow. The flow becomes more important whenever you are working more specifically as far as a stylus pen. You can also even turn on here pressure, so that depending on how hard you press on the stylus pen on your tablet will depend on how the opacity will flow. Now, the next thing I'd like to show you here is actually jumping down and looking at the color replacement tool. The color replacement tool allows us, when we are working with different shapes, we can actually come in and add additional colors within the shape here. So using this solid coloring that I used with the brush here, I'm going to go ahead and pick a different color here. I'm also going to come up to my property panel here. This is pretty tiny as far as pixel size is concerned, so I'm going to take this up a little bit, maybe about in the 30s. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click, drag, hold, and as you notice, whenever I'm drawing over that, and I'll pick a darker color so you can see this, you see how it's staying within the shape of the object, but it's allowing me to come in and add additional coloring. I could then, if I wanted to, come back to my brush tool, choose a different color, and I can continue to add on to the overall shape. The other tool to show you from this toolbox is also your color mixer brush tool. This is great whenever you're painting or designing characters as far as from an artwork standpoint. So for instance here, I'm going to go ahead and grab a green color, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change the size, and I'm actually going to use this scratching. And what I'm going to do is take this down a little bit, and we'll give this one a try. But you notice how when I'm scratching through the color here, you see how it's actually pulling in as far as from around or the outside and adding those effects in there. I could even go one step further, and let me zoom in on this so you can see it. And notice how it's actually taking the green and allowing me to blend in with the colors and do a mixing pattern there. This is great for adding in shadows or adding in additional effects, and works really well as far as working between multiple colors. The only other thing I want to draw your attention to is when you're working with brushes, be aware that you're probably going to be working in numerous layers as far as your overall design goes. It is not uncommon in a piece of digital artwork to see at least, 30 to 40 types of layers that are making up the entire design. But overall, those are kind of the basics as far as working with your brush tool.